With Scream 7 now released, and I've had the opportunity to review all 7 films, it's time to rank the Scream franchise. Let's talk about it. What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Welcome back into JC's Movies, where you can see all kind of movie and TV show content with me, JC, especially within the superhero, comedy, and horror genres. We'll be talking again today. More Scream content coming at you as we're going to rank all 7 movies. But before I get there, just a quick reminder, if you're a fan of horror movies, or you're a fan of talking movies in general, be sure to hit that subscribe button here on the channel so we can talk some movies together, talk about the Scream franchise. You can share your ranking in the comments. All those fun things help me continue to grow the channel here. And you could also help out just by hitting that little like button, that little thumbs up button there. Gets this video to that YouTube algorithm. It'll hit it better, and you'll find other movie and TV show fans, other Scream fans like you and me. With that out of the way, let's rank this bitch. All right, so we're going to count down from 7 to 1. Obviously, some spoilers involved here. If you haven't seen Scream 7, when I ever come to it, I might bring something up with it. Hopefully, you've seen all the other 6 movies, and even more, hopefully, than that, you've seen all my reviews for each movie in the franchise. Reviewed all 6 in the lead up to 7. Got the out-of-theater reaction up as a YouTube short. And, of course, now we have the full Scream 7 spoiler review on the channel here, as well as I did that back on Sunday. So let's talk about how I rank these movies. Coming in at number 7, for me, it's still Scream 3. I think, for me, what they did with this one is just they leaned too far into the comedy. They had to do a little course correction with everything that happened. They had an original idea, ended up going another way, going to Hollywood instead of, having it be anything school related, no younger cast, all, adults essentially in this one. They also retcon some things from the original with the Ghostface reveal. Now, that is the one thing it does have going for it, is being the only Scream movie to have just a singular Ghostface, which I think is interesting. But to me, there's no horror to this movie. There's really not hardly any good gore or kills, no carnage candy with this. And it almost feels like a parody of itself at times. Just too much comedy for me. Scream 3 remains at the bottom. And then number 6 for me, it's Scream 6, guys. Talked about this one a lot, in the past, but to me, it just doesn't feel very much like Scream. It just doesn't have that Scream feel to it. I don't know if it's the city setting or, no Nev Campbell. A lot of the choices they made, I wasn't the biggest fan of. You can go through my review and hear more about it, but the main thing is I hate it. If I had to hear Core 4 one more time, I was going to rip my damn ears off. Thought that was the corniest thing ever, and they said it a million times throughout the movie. And then the ending really drug it down for me even more. There are parts of it that I liked, but the very end, when you realize these characters are still alive, that have been stabbed 46 times, just a lot of redundancy throughout the movie, and it just didn't feel very much like Scream to me. That's why I was so excited for Scream 7, because I was not a fan of Scream 6. It ranks here at number 6. And then as we get into the top 5 here, I will say I don't think there's necessarily a bad Scream movie. I enjoy all of these movies, even the 2 that I had there at the bottom. And I think the top 5 are all pretty good movies, in my opinion. I like all of these, but something's got to go at 5. And for me, it's Scream 4. I know a lot of people love this movie, and, it's grown on me over the years, more so than it did initially, but I'm still just not a fan of Jill being Ghostface. I know a lot of people love her. I just don't buy it, I guess you could say. The motive's fine. It's got a good motive, but just seeing her as Ghostface, it just didn't work for me. And then she also has that moment that I pointed out in the review where she literally has the Marsha Brady moment going, Sydney, Sydney, Sydney. And I don't know, her monologue wasn't the best. She does get her Jim Carrey moment in Liar Liar. She gets to kick her own ass, which was fun, but just some flaws there for Scream 4 that drop it a little bit lower than some of the other movies. So for me, it comes in at number 5. And then number 4 for me, a few years ago, this was a top 3 movie in the franchise, but it's been edged out. But I really do love 5 Cream, 2022 Scream, Scream 5, whatever you want to title it. It comes in here at number 4 for me. A lot of good nods to the original. I think that the killer reveal was good, although I think it was one that you could predict after a while, at least for one of the 2. And, maybe Once Upon a Time in Hollywood made me, suspect Mikey Madison, throughout that movie a little bit. So maybe that's part of the reason. But I do think that this movie has some really good moments. I love that they end up at Stu Macher's house, kind of use that as a reveal at the end there, that they're in Stu's house, that Amber has lived in that house, which was pretty cool. And like I said, all the nods to the OG, it gave me some nostalgic feelings. It was one of my favorite Scream theater experiences until here recently. So for me, it's up there in the top 4. I put Scream 5 at number 4. Which brings us to the top 3. And yeah, you guessed it. It's here in the top 3, and it's at number 3, Scream 7. Suck it, haters. I don't care how you feel. I loved the movie. Really, you bring me Matthew Lillard back as Stu Macher, I'm going to be balled in. I know a lot of people had problems with the reveal. Personally, I didn't. I love the way that thing played out. And I love the fact that, spoiler alert, it's finally not someone that's in the group of high school kids. They, went a different direction. I think a lot of the motivations made sense to me. And I think they did a good job of kind of trying to lead you one way and then give you something else. Trying to be as spoiler free as I can here. I don't want to, ruin it for people that may have not seen it yet, but if you're watching this, hopefully you have. But I really love Scream 7. It gave me moments that I hadn't felt since the original movie. Having Marco Beltrami back as the composer made a huge difference. I felt like Kevin Williamson really brought back some of those classic Screamisms that I hadn't felt since the first 2 movies, to the point where I was getting goosebumps at times, smiling ear to ear. Also delivered some really good gore and kills that I wasn't expecting. Some good carnage candy here with Scream 7. So I absolutely love Scream 7. I've already seen it twice, liked it even more on my second watch. So it's a top 3 movie in the franchise for me here at number 3. Which brings us to the top 2. And I think no surprise here for me is that, you're looking at the original 2 movies left on this list. How am I going to rank them? I'm not in that camp that has Scream 2 better than Scream 1. I just can never go there. I do love Scream 2, but it falls here at number 2 just because this one, you still have Randy, you still have a lot of those classic characters, and I think that gives it a little bit of edge to me. Plus, I love the meta talk that they have where they have the film class discussion about sequels in a sequel. That always still works for me. I love Jerry O'Connell's character, and I don't know how you people hate on the cafeteria singing scene. It's one of my favorite scenes in the damn movie. I love that in Scream 2. Just so much good stuff here in Scream 2. Did it drop off a little bit from Scream 1 for me? Yes, but not very far. And I think as the franchise continues, I start to like Scream 2 even more as time goes on. Still a big fan of this one. That's why it's at number 2 in the franchise. And then still at number 1, I don't know if it'll ever be topped. It's damn near a perfect movie for me. One of my favorite horror movies of all time. The one that saved the slasher genre, so to speak, or brought it back to life, I guess you could say, resuscitated it. And that's big for me because that's by far my favorite subgenre of horror. And of course, it's the Wes Craven directed, Kevin Williamson written, OG classic Scream. No Ghostface reveal, I don't think will ever top that one either, because at the time you didn't expect there to be 2. Now you pretty much always expect there to be more than 1, which is why I wouldn't mind, Scream 8 or beyond if they went back to there only being 1 just to throw you off a little bit. I think that would be a good choice, but I digress on that. Stu Macher, best character in the Scream franchise. Matthew Lillard's performance in the original Scream, so top notch. You hit me with the phone, Dick. Get it up, baby. I mean, you could go on down the list with great quotes. Plus, I'm not going to lie, Skeet Ulrich was pretty menacing, especially after the reveal as Billy Loomis. Just great character performances all around. Rose McGowan, David Arquette, Courtney Cox, Neve Campbell. They knocked it out the park, and I just don't know if you'll ever reach those heights again. But also, the height of that original Scream movie is what made us all fall in love with the franchise. While we all keep coming back and wanting more Scream, is we're just hoping, chasing that high, so to speak, of that original Scream movie, which for me is still number 1 in the franchise by a long shot. And so to see it visually, here's how I rank the 7 Scream movies. Just went through and talked about them all in the full video, but here it is, my Scream film ranking 1 through 7, with the OG being the best. Then we go Scream 2 at number 2, Scream 7 at 3, Scream 5 Cream, 2022 Scream at 4, Scream 4 at 5, Scream 6 at number 6, and then Scream 3 rounding it out there at number 7 for my Scream movie rankings. And of course, if you want to follow me there on Letterboxd, you can. It's JC Cruz there on Letterboxd. You see it on the screen, and I'd appreciate the follow there. Just like I'd appreciate you sharing your list down in the comments. My list is just my list. That's what makes movies beautiful, is that we all have different opinions. They're all subjective. I'm not going to argue with you if you hated Scream 7. That's fine. You're entitled to that opinion. But I still love it, all of those things. But I would love to see your list and compare it to mine. We can talk about it, talk about the Scream franchise, all those good things. Always enjoy chatting movies with you guys. Drop your list down in the comments or anything you want to talk about there. Appreciate that. Just like I appreciate you tuning into this one, and I will catch you on the next one.